Hello, Sasrika Namaste. Welcome to the Love, Laugh, Live chat show with Gurdial and Dav Ubi.
So, प्यार करो हंसो ते जुग जुग जियो वाला show. So, show शुरू करने तो पहला ये कहना है
Love with passion
love with pleasure
and live with peace.
So, ਇਹਦਾ मतलब है
प्यार करो सारे दिल नाल
हंसो दिल भर के
ते जियो शांत दे नाल.
So, my name is Devinder Obi. I'm a life and spiritual coach. And मेरे जेरे नाल सोनी जी कुड़ी बैठी है.
अच्छा, तेरी जिन्नी तो नहीं सोनी. My name is Gurdial Garcha and I'm an empowerment and resilience coach. So what's the topic for today, Dav?
So the topic, we're going to continue from last week. We were discussing about the 8 spiritual gifts. And so these gifts that we all have in us and that we're not aware of. So when we talk about spiritual gifts, these are the gifts that everyone, sare insan de vich hege, not, you don't have to go Sant Mahatma or somebody who's got this psychic powers or whatever. This is like each one of us has these spiritual gifts in us that but sanu pata nahi hega, sanu malum nahi hega, but sare de vich hega. And we're going to sort of talk about it more in depth and can understand that how lucky and fortunate we are. And once we understand these gifts that we can actually start using them to our advantage. And last week we did about the 2 first spiritual gifts, and this week we're going to go on the 3rd and 4th spiritual gift.
Okay, so I'll start with the 3rd spiritual gift, which is your actions are admirable even when no one cherishes you. So ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਫੇਰ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਇਓ. And so your actions are admirable even when no one cherishes you. Actually the universe is teaching you to celebrate yourself every single day. ਮਤਲਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਰੇਕ ਦਿਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਇਆ ਕਰੋ. ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼ੀ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ. So it's a time to celebrate yourself. Whatever you're doing, it's a time for you to notice how much you have evolved, you know, even within the past year, because maybe one year you've not noticed how much you've evolved, how much you've grown, but over time you will notice, you know, that whatever talent you've got, it has definitely grown. Yeah,
and these gifts, like I said, Saran which hega, but we're not aware of it even ourselves when we, you know, studying and this concepts about spiritual gifts, and we thought, oh my God, we didn't appreciate that we didn't realize that and we said the shakti hai and we just take it as this we sort of like underestimate ourselves and take it for granted, these gifts. I mean, I could give you example. Okay, so probably ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ what are these gifts, you know, what is it that we other people ਸਾਡੀ ਕਦਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ, but it's something that we should celebrate. So I could celebrate my growth, my example, let's say 10 years ago, where if I had a situation where I was confronted with a challenge and it could be a very upsetting one, and I could actually feel like my life is becoming so stressful and so frightful that I find myself in a situation where oh cheez bare main sochi jaungi and apne aap nu unnecessarily cause suffering until tak mera it affect my health, my well-being, my job, my family, my environment. So it could be a situation that I would really get stuck into that challenge and the grief and the pain and the misery of it, you know, and the story of it, I would just keep repeating it. And so that would probably be like 10 years ago. But now, so when something like that happens now, I find myself, okay, I got triggered, something happened, but it won't put my life on hold. I won't probably, okay, it's natural to feel some sadness, I might cry, I might feel scared, I might feel, but not to the point that it will actually
debilitate you and stop you from living your life.
I feel paralyzed in fear with it, that I completely put my life on hold, then I might neglect my family and my children. But I do have to understand jo kuch coming up for me, the sadness or the fear or the hurt, I still process it, but I process it now not in the place of feeling that's unfair. I process it thinking this is something I need to be compassionate, be kind to myself and nurture myself through this. Before I wouldn't nurture myself through it, I'd actually feel like I'm a victim, that mindset, I need to blame somebody for my suffering. Now I'm out of that place, I don't need to blame someone. I actually think, oh, this is something for me to understand about myself. So what I'm trying to say, the gift is...
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what's the gift that our
the
viewers
gift
need to know about?
The gift is in this, that I've in a place now that I actually can not go into that place of suffering too much. I can celebrate that, I can take the lesson from it and not go into the mindset of I need to blame them, I need to punish them, I need to do something, I need to create more drama out of this. So the gift is that I can overcome my situation much, much quicker than I used to.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds amazing. Because when we're younger, it does upset us so much. Nowadays with children, it affects their mental health, their physical health so much. Sometimes they don't want to go to school or they don't want to engage. So I can totally understand where you're coming from. But the thing is, what we're trying to say, the gift is, what are we learning from that situation? How are we growing? We have to understand that is a gift to us as well. We have to learn, what is it trying to teach us? How can we become कुछ सीख सकते तो असी कुछ गलत किया होगा उन्होंने कुछ, but maybe nothing wrong has happened, but it's just our interpretation. Basically ओ गल असी किद्दां अपने दिल नु लाई आ, we how to learn to let go of these things and to celebrate भी तुसी जेड़ियां जो कुछ भी तुहाडे अंदर हैगा, how to celebrate your gift and to take your focus away from the negatives or the challenges that put you in a place of such darkness. So is the way I would put it.
Yeah, so this is something I'm celebrating. This is my growth, and this is something I've learned to live in a new way, in a healthier way. But no one has to cherish me for it. I don't need anyone else to celebrate for me. But this is my own personal experience. So this is what we're talking about. This gift is about what you can celebrate yourself. You know you're doing something so much more powerful, but you don't need anyone else's
or to even recognize it. Because कई बारी असी जेड़ियां साडी लाइफ दे विच मुश्किलां आउंदियां हैं, असी किसी नाल गल कई बारी नहीं भी करदे. Sometimes we don't talk to anybody about it.
That's right.
But सानू पता भी 5 साल पहला मैं इदां हुंदी सी जिथे मैं चुप करके किसी नूं बोलना नहीं, मैं रो के going to that place अपने आप नूं बीमार कर लेना. पर हुण मैं you could say भी हुण नहीं मैं अपने दिल नूं इन्नियां गल्लां लाउंदी करके दुनिया जिद्दां मर्जी है तुरी जांदी है, and we have to learn to adapt. सानू भी नाल चेंज होना क्योंकि कई बार इदां हुंदी है. Sometimes what happens is किसी ने कुछ कह देना थानू and तुसी तां अपने दिल नूं गल ला के बह गए आ, पर वो तां अपनी लाइफ इंजॉय करदे आ. So then there's got to be, so the gift in this is to understand where you can celebrate your life and not take on other people's issues to become your own.
Yeah, not to say मैं लाता क्यों होया. Now saying what is it teaching me in मेरे फायदे वास्ते होया. So just changing your perception about it.
Yeah, definitely. क्योंकि असी इदां नहीं कहते भी कोई बहुत बड़ी कोई गल हुई होनी चाहिदी है ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਗਿਫਟ ਆ you can share that. ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਘਰ ਹੋਗੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਾਲ ਸਬਜ਼ੀ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੁੱਕਦਾ, but that's something to celebrate. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ running a home, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ प्यार ना कोई भी काम करते हैं जिथे थोड़ी न्याणे आउंदे घर दे happy to be home and that environment, that's something to celebrate massively क्योंकि न्याणे नूं ओ गल्लां दा चेता रहिंदा आ, and that's your gift just to your family.
And big simple things like now if I get stuck in the traffic or somebody is trying to, there's like road rage,
push you forward.
See, maybe years ago I'll probably panic and feel a bit uneasy about it or probably a bit frustration, but it doesn't bother me. If I'm stuck in the traffic, okay, I'm stuck in the traffic, I'm going to listen to some nice music, but I won't fret and just unnecessarily cause myself stress about it,
But, and that's growth, isn't it? हौली तुसी थोड़े जिहा अपने आप नूं adjust कर लेंदे आ. ਉਹ भी हो सकदा है, it could easily be that you get angry and you get frustrated and you start beeping your horn, and then the anger rises within you and the other person, but whereas you think, you can't do anything about it.
But it's interesting if you are sitting next to someone who's the driver, you can see them getting agitated if somebody's trying to overtake them or somebody's driving too slow, somebody suddenly brakes or something. You can see them, they start like I'm thinking, and I was thinking, but what is the problem? You know, but it's funny how it's the same situation, but two people are dealing with it in both different ways.
So ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਿਫਟ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, this is your gift, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ speciality ਹੋਊਗੀ, it could be anything, ਪਰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਵੀ you may not even know what your gift is, so ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਖੋਜ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ. You have to sit and think, well, what am I doing, what is my gift, not only to myself but to my family, to the wider community, and it's about recognizing that we are all special in our own way, no matter how small or how big of an impact we make.
Yeah, I mean, I know a friend that they got this garden plot done, and she just loves growing things, natural things.
Green fingers.
Yeah. And she just celebrates herself for actually starting something from a seed into a beautiful vegetable fruit, so she celebrates that whole experience. But she doesn't need, she loves to share, but she doesn't want anyone to say thank you or anything. She just enjoys just doing that. But she doesn't need anybody's wow, but she goes, I'm happy just, I mean, the whole journey and the process of just creating that. So simple things like that. You just see what is it that you can celebrate about, but you don't need kisi di wawa or shabash. That's a gift. That's a spiritual gift.
Yeah, I mean, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, you know, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ, could be anybody, ਕਹਿਣਾ ਵੀ, oh, I wish I was like that, I wish I was that confident, I wish I could speak like this, or ਜਾਂ you know, I could dance like that. There's nothing to stop you doing that. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੰਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, but ਕਦੇ-ਕਦੇ you have to get out of your own way in order to do something different. So ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ jealous ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ, upset ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਆਹ ਕੰਮ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਆ, and if that's something that you want to acquire as a gift, then of course try it out, find out where those kind of classes are around you, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਵਾਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ for yourself.
Anything that makes you feel good, I mean, dilo you feel man nu shant khushi mildi, that's a spiritual gift. And when you're feeling that goodness, then you're complete, you're full, and then you don't need anybody's wawa and shawa, you know, shabash. That is a spiritual gift, that you're just enjoying it in that element of just feeling complete and fulfilled. You know, I'd love you to share one of your experiences where you felt that you can celebrate.
Yeah, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ so I have this thing where I love having a good laugh. I'm sure you probably already know that ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਨਾਲੇ ਹੱਸਾਵਾਂ ਨਾਲੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੱਸਾਂ, because that's just the way I am. But I'll only do it with people that I'm close with. But when I'm with other people, I'm quite quiet and quite reserved, because ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ I don't want people to judge me or laugh at me and make me feel like I'm stupid. But Holly working with Dav, it's made such a big difference to my life within 1 year, where I can celebrate who I am without worrying about what other people think. क्योंकि हुंदा है सानू के लोग सानू जज करोगे, कहने ये तो पागल जी है, तो हस्ती रहिंदी है, you know, बगैर मतलब तो. But it's really important to तुसी उन्हां दे नाल कोल खड़ो जेड़े तुहाडे नाल खड़दे आ. जे तुहानू कोई ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਚੋਂ, you know, making you feel bad, or they're not part of your tribe, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ community ਦੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਫਾਇਦੇ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ the way you've just said about if it doesn't feel good, then they are not your kind of people. So it's okay, ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਰੁੱਪ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ resonate ਕਰਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਗੱਲ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ, ਨਾਲ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, then that is the people you need to be around.
But I mean, because I've got to know you really well now, very well, and but I've noticed that the change I've noticed in you, that your spiritual gift for me, I think it's freedom that it doesn't even matter people who don't even like what you're saying, but you feel the freedom that I'm just going to be myself. And you've done it in front of it, but you know, you've done your jokes, Makal, Vagara, in front of 300-400 people quite easily. But that's something, that's a growth, that's a spiritual gift that you've let go of, not wanting other people. I'm just in my element of just being the natural me. And so for me there, I would say that your spiritual gift is freedom of what, freedom people's judgments.
Oh, thank you. Well, that means a lot. And this is what we want to say to you. ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਗਿਫਟ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਰੋ ਨਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਲਾਗੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਉਣਾ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਰਦੇ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ whatever your talent is, could be making food, teaching somebody how to cook, then celebrate that. Doesn't matter what other people think. ਕਰਕੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਹੈਗੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼ੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਰਨਾ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਪਰ ਇਟ ਡਸਨਟ ਮੈਟਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਲਈ ਕਰਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਲਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ your gift is to do it because you love doing it, not because ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼ੀ ਦੇਵੇ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਫ਼ਰਤ ਕਰੇ. It's not about that, it's about you cherishing yourself.
So when we talk about spiritual gifts, there has a very powerful purpose in it, because when we allow ourselves to actually implement it and only just fully embrace it, it helps other people. Something ignites in them that they want to also embrace their spiritual gifts. So let's say you are now comfortable just being yourself in a group of strangers and just being your normal funny joke self. You allow other people who also probably introvert and held themselves back from opening up, and then something in them you sort of ignite in them. So that's the spiritual gift. Your spiritual gift is like when you're being yourself and you're just being happy and content. That is a place that's that's Rab, the energy, that feeling of happy and contentment, that I feel safe and I feel comfortable, I feel secure. That is what the energy that emits in other people, it goes into them and it makes them
feel confident,
but it ignites their spiritual gift, and they all of a sudden feel like, oh, there's a part of me that I just feel I need to just be okay with it and express it without worrying what people say.
Yeah ਕਰਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਫਿਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆ ਕਹੂਗਾ that automatically ਹੋਰਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਰਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ. So you don't realize ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਐਨਰਜੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਪੋਜ਼ੀਟਿਵ ਐਨਰਜੀ ਬਣਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਤੋਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਗਿਫਟ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਤੋਂ ਵਾਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਹ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ. What we're saying is you're just being your own authentic self.
So we only block this spiritual gift is when we expect something. I'm only going to do this medical qadar karo. That's not a spiritual gift. That's coming from a place of ego. That's a program. That's some limiting belief that I only feel happy in whatever I'm doing if somebody gives me that validation or approval. That's not a spiritual gift. A spiritual gift is where you're actually feeling so happy and regardless of what's happening out there. So this is one of the spiritual gifts. So I'm just going to talk about if you write a book, sometimes you write a book, you firstly need to walk the story and to write a book in your life. We all know that all the good books that have been written on this world, that become viral and many people are reading them, finding them inspiring, have been written by somebody who needed to walk the path before that person was able to write the story. And you are walking that path right now, and you need to know that your actions are admirable. And so you must remind yourself that your actions are already admirable, and not when you are making huge results, but when you make the next step is something truly important to know. So when I think about this, the books that I've read, they're the books, the ones that I feel that really has helped me in my journey, that I really get a close connection with. The books have been written by people who have actually experienced it themselves when they've gone through that challenge or something. Or the book padhna or the jada impact panda.
And the reason those books are so impactful because they're speaking from the heart. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ pretend ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ. They don't have to add bits or take away bits. They're literally just they're talking about their own experience. And which is what we're saying. ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ book ਲਿਖੀ ਆ ਜਿਆਦਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ we could just mention Anita Moorjani's book
Dying to Be Me.
Dying to Be Me, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੈਂਸਰ ਸੀਗੀ ਤਾਂ hauly she had a near-death experience, and she now talks about her experience.
She actually died and then went to the other side, to the spirit world, and where she got some really powerful insights that she came back into her body, but because her experience was that she eliminated fear. Fear is the cause of all illness, because she had cancer is the worst one, Hannah.
Yeah.
And because she eliminated the fear, and she experienced just love, so much this love that's hard to explain, that she couldn't even find the words.
Unconditional love, yeah.
And when she came back, she realized, because she brought that love back with her, it destroyed or eliminated it transmuted the fear, that all of a sudden the cancer within weeks, it just disappeared.
And even the doctors couldn't believe that she had experienced this, and even though, and she heard all the conversations around her bed when she was having her treatment and her operations, and when she'd had that near-death experience as well.
Yeah, so when you read stories like this, people are actually writing stories from a true experience. So that's this is her gift, this is her spiritual gift, that she had to went through something, and then she, regardless of what the world thought of her, she didn't any wawa. Her gift was she needed to explain, she wanted to share that love she was feeling, and that was the khushi she was getting just writing that book. And those sort of books that has now any dunya che, everybody admires her and find her so inspiring, and those are the people, those books I find have a really, really good impact on me and change my thinking. And I don't know, I've not read his actual book, but the guy Varisha, or the movie, and I've seen the movie Varisha.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful film.
Yeah, and he wanted to write a real poetry or story about a romantic love, about romance. And I don't know if Varisha is somebody who told him that if you want to write a book on true romance, real romance, you have to experience that pyar, that kind of pyar. Then he went through that experience, through the love and the pain of it and everything. So that's why, then he wrote about Hiranja, wasn't it? So
and that was his gift.
That was his gift.
Because he'd experienced something like that, and then he'd not expecting anything back, but then obviously he wrote this story, which then turned into a film, and look at how it all worked out for him. Yeah, so I'm saying we can all of us to see you can write about something, write about some experience thode life but it's something that you feel like you just want to relive it again, and also knowing that it's just going to be a gift for someone in the future anywhere, anyone. I think that's such a beautiful thing, because कई बारी साडे सियाने सोचते हैं भी बस साडा दा टाइम लंघ गया इदा इदा, but you have the beautiful gift of history, because sanu hunda siga, like I always think, oh, I wish I'd asked my nanny about so many things, my my baba, my mum, but when they've gone. So it is a beautiful time for not only the grandparent to think, which I'll write stuff about how we came to this country,
the amazing
or what
stories
happened.
You hear, the journeys on the boat, and the storms,
or the train,
and
the truck. So think about it, just write it down, talk to your children, and even if you don't get to tell them, just write it down. One day they might pick it up and think, wow, I didn't even know this about my grandparent.
What about the stories you can write about things like the things you experienced in the partition? I know my dad was only about 5 years old, but even he can remember some scenes, and I think, oh my God, these are things you hear in movies, and my dad actually went through that. So these sort of things to see lik sakde hain, but people find this kind of story so powerful and so empowering that it makes you think that we could be stuck in some sort of a problem or an issue, and when you read a story like thinking that what you went through is but 100 times worse what I went through, so why am I wasting my time worrying about this petty thing, how you overcame such a big challenge like that. So these sort of stories to see likho hana, so your future generations can read,
and who knows, it may turn into a book. It could become a bestseller. We don't know that, but तुसी पहला पेन ता पेपर लेके लिखो ता देखो, you never know what could happen.
Some typical, a lot of incidents when you got married, the village you lived in, and how people used to go. These sort of memories you can write down. I tell you, the children, the future generation, I know they will so much appreciate it, thinking, wow, there was even a life like that. My ancestors actually lived a life like that.
Yeah. I'm going to write a book, because computers weren't even around when I was little. We had a black and white television. But anyway, we're now going to talk about the fourth gift, which is just the way you are is a blessing to everyone who gets a chance to interact with you. So ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, that's a blessing to everyone. ਵੀ ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਖੂਬੀ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਲੋਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਰਨ ਨਾ ਕਰਨ but that is who you are at your essence and you know ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਆ as long as you know you're not horrible then that you are a blessing for those people within your life so how often when you feel like you are not good enough when you find yourself in a certain conversation and you feel I could have said that better or I could have done that differently so ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਉੱਚੀ ਨੀਵੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਪਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਜਵਾਬ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਰੁੱਖਾਪਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਉੱਚਾ ਨੀਵਾਂ ਬੋਲੇ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਤੇ ਗੱਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁੱਝੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਲੱਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਜਵਾਬ ਦੇਵਾਂ so you end up saying nothing ਕਰਕੇ that is who you are at that particular moment ਫਿਰ ਘਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਘੁੰਮਦੀਆਂ ਰਹਿੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਸੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਸੀ then you know maybe at that time it was a good thing that ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤਾ because that situation could have got worse so maybe in that specific moment that was your gift not to make that situation worse
what was said was enough but we obviously we had the problem with the person's saying something to us
in the first place
we think that was a problem but then when we go home later on the problem becomes we feel angry with ourselves thinking minne gal kyun nahi sochi I should have known better so I think we're more angry with ourselves than the other person who started the conversation but like I
mean I was just going to say this quote you know that I don't know if my mum used to use it or somebody else say ek chop so suk but it's good and it's not good karke to be quiet and not say anything you know it depends on who you are what kind of person you are ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਵੀ if you don't say anything but if you keep ruminating ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਘੁੰਮਦੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ then that's not healthy for your body but then ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ then you tackle it down the line and you clear the situation up then that could be a good thing so sometimes silence can be more powerful than kind of reacting and response is better than reaction
so we're talking about the blessing in this spiritual gift we have to be kind compassionate to ourselves jo bhi kuch hoya hoga koi conflict klesh hoga in that time you did your best that you just got to see that as a blessing and not keep going back thinking oh ada hona chahiye because jiri problem sigi probably lasted 10 minutes or even less than that but then you ruminating or probably gone on for days and months you know so sometimes jo kuch hoya theek hi hoya and when we say that then we don't have to dwell on it for months and months and months because then nobody's doing anything to us then we're punishing ourselves by focusing on it giving so much attention that's not we take the blessing away then the blessing is at that time whatever happened it happened that way I'm just going to let it go
and also in this the spiritual gift what is the gift in this situation it's whether what do you want to take from that situation what do you want to learn from it what is the gift within you that you're celebrating
and the gift like I said we're talking about personal experience now so for me the gift would be whatever's happened in that moment then I'm just going to just say it's okay jitna hoya tiki hoya but for next time I'll remember for next time I'll remember to if I need to reply back I would not react but reply back in a calm compassionate way so everybody's going to be different I'm just talking from my experience that if I couldn't say it although jo kuch problem sigi at the time and instead of me thinking oh god I should have done that and then stop berating and punishing and judging myself
and that is the normal thing to do most people would do that firstly
I know and we've all done it but it's not productive it's not healthy and we're going to create more of that sort of same old conflict so you can just say look at that time the blessing in the gift is that the way it happened that time it happened that way but it gave me awareness the blessing is it gave me awareness now that if something like that happened again next time I'll be more conscious thinking at least I can say so let's say somebody judged you and criticized you all right I could just say thank you for your opinion your feedback I'll consider it and think about it and if I find it's useful I will definitely implement it but if I don't find it useful but still thank you So you're not turning into a fight, you're taking on board what they've said. But the problem is when we feel like triggered, and it's happened to me, I'm talking from experience, when in the past I have got triggered thinking, how dare they say that, how dare they criticize that, and I've been there myself.
We've all been there.
I've been there.
Yeah.
But then I realized it wasn't good for me. So if it's sometimes, now the blessing, the gift is, if it happens again, thank you for your opinion, your feedback, and appreciate you actually took time out to say it. And if it's good for me, I will implement it. If it's not necessary, but I still keep it in mind what you said. This is all we have to do. And then and that's a blessing. We allow him to be our true self, authentic self. Then that's what the blessing is in that moment when other people are interacting. And that's the gift.
As human beings, our biggest fear is being rejected. कि जिथे कोई साडी नहीं कदर करदा, सानू हुंदा भी सारे साडी कदर करन भी, सानू पिछे जे सिट्टे, you want to be valued, and सानू हुंदा भी सानू कोई कल्ला ना छड़ जावे. So we have all these fears, सानू ये सारे डर साडे मन दे विच रहिंदे आ. So the important thing is कि जे तुसी सच्चाई नाल दिलों प्यार दे नाल तुसी सही गल करदे, hopefully that situation wouldn't happen. पर कदे if we react like that असी टुट के किसी नूं जवाब दिंदे, फिर लोग आपे मल्लो मल्ली तुहाडे तो दूर हो सकदे आ. So the gift again in this, the spiritual gift, is be yourself, be proud of who you are, but not in a what's the word, in a show-offy kind of way, but in a way that makes you approachable, compassionate, kind, but you're also standing your own ground and being authentic, because we're all different and we all come from so many different backgrounds. But the most important thing is to be authentic. कि तुसी डरना नहीं हैगा भी जेड़ी गल कहनी है तुसी कह सकदे हैं. But जिद्दां हुण डैब ने भी कहा, you can say, I understand what you're saying, I accept what you're saying, I may take it on board, I may not. But even then you're saying thank you, क्योंकि वो फिर जिद्दां गल उत्थे मुक जांदी आ. So it's really important जिद्दां तुसी your ego doesn't get in the way, which is like edging God out. कि तुसी you kind of push God to one side and think, well no, this is all about me. No, it's not all about you. It's about how the interaction's going and how you're celebrating your own spiritual gift.
So like you said, we're going back to the blessing, the gift in this again. It's about when we allow ourselves to find a different way to respond.
Yeah.
This is where how we interact with other people. This becomes a gift to everyone else, because we become like, they remember that. They'll remember, oh, I wanted to trigger them. I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to sort of like abuse them in some way. But I actually take them back because they didn't allow themselves to be consumed in the fear and in the judgment and feeling of not good enough, whatever that. So this is where we become a blessing, this gift, and how we interact with other people, that we can be ourselves. And talking about our biggest fear in all humans is about rejection and being judged and afraid of being alone. This is where it stems from when we're very young. So this becomes an automatic thing that when somebody says something to us in a very judgmental, critical way, we find ourselves automatically gone into some sort of reaction, and we start to feel hurt and feel humiliated, and we feel so like we've been disrespected. So that's an automatic behavior, and this is something we learned, adapted from our parents, our environment, and that's what we play out in the rest of our lives. So now the blessing is like, every time something happens and I keep reacting, I'm not being a blessing. This gift, I'm wasting it by reacting, because I'm not, the blessing, this blessing is only going to work, this gift is only going to work when I step away from the old programming, the old way of me automatically behaving in a reaction. Now I'm actually going to change my way of dealing with the situation, how I interact with other people. This becomes a blessing to everybody else. This is a gift that we share with the world, with other people, and they pick up on that. And they also heal from that as well. So if they're the ones going to be triggerers, they stop triggering us, they stop being inappropriate, they stop being horrible and mean and nasty to us, because they've also healed through our changing ourselves.
And what you're talking about, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ Dad ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ about you know, being authentic and everything that you said about healing, but it takes time, it takes confidence, it takes love, compassion. ਕਦੇ ਕਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿਤਾ ਆ, the normal reaction going back to your when you were little, or your parents, or your culture, your religion, all these things, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ behaviors that we've learned those behaviors, and it's about changing those behaviors to make them more desirable, so that ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ react ਨਹੀਂ ਉਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਕਰਦੇ, you've got to be able to think, how do I really want to respond to this person, because really the most normal and the natural thing is just to have a go back, but really, you know, it's like Gandhi said, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. You know, koi na koi jittya na koi harya. There's nobody's moved forward, nobody has evolved. So shanti ta done paasyan nu nahi kisi nu mili. So the most important thing is, if something is triggering you, what do you need to do to help yourself, so that your gift can shine, you can be your authentic self. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ compassionately ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੁਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ, ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਜੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਗੱਲ ਆ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੰਦਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ you know, sometimes out of fear we will say horrible things, but that's not really who we are. We're supposed to be all divine creatures of God, and where, you know, everything we say and do should align with love, and that's what makes everything better, because we're not coming from a place of fear or judgment. We're coming from a place where we think, you know, jira menu idda bolda hai, there's something that they're unhappy about which they're projecting onto me, and therefore then I'm reacting and I'm getting involved in their story, which that doesn't necessarily need to happen.
Yeah, so I mean, I can talk about, let's say an experience happened again, so I can use the gift in this, or I can go back into my old ways of, you know, reacting. So now I'm more sort of conscious of it. So every time something happens now, I can say, can I tune into my spiritual gift, that I'm a blessing to other people through my interaction? So that's now, we become more aware of it every time we interact with someone, especially someone who's pushing our buttons, who are trying to...
And somebody's always going to be doing that.
Somebody's trying to be very awkward and, you know, trying to be difficult.
And we're also doing it. We're not saying other people are going to be doing it, but we will also be doing it to other people.
So, but we've got a chance now. So now we understand this fourth spiritual gift is in all of us. So am I going to allow myself to actually use this spiritual gift now, or am I going to go to the old program? So like, you know, my blessing, to be a blessing to others, is allow myself to be my normal self, my authentic self, my true self, and not to get, you know, consumed in the old programs and old ways of being. And so, like you said, Goodell was saying, like, this is not an overnight thing. This is going to happen all our rest of our lives. Sari Umar, we're going to have situations on there and there. But it's good. It's so good, because I would not have been aware that I was about this spiritual gift. And if I didn't have those problems and conflicts, and it gave me a realization that, okay, this can continue the rest of my life, or I can change it by not doing the same old way of automatic behavior and reacting and going into the place of being a victim. Oh God, it's happened again. I was being so nice. I'm always being so nice. Jinna main nice hunde unne jande bande take advantage of me and they use me. So you can carry on with that story, or you can actually change it by, you know, the blessing in this, right, is allowed to be yourself, authentic self. You know, I still continue to be nice, but I'm going to be nicer to myself now, and not go into the story and whatever that person, however they treated me, you know, what is there for me to learn from this? Because if it's happening again and again and again, you could just throw your life to any story how you feel like, it seems to happen with so many people in my life. You know, so you find this same theme happening again and again. The reason why it happens, because we're trying to, like I said, our God self, our higher consciousness, trying to make us aware that there's something in us we need to change in order that we can be a blessing with this gift to other people by being a true, authentic self. And that means I have to change. Not do the automatic behavior that this is not me being authentic. There's something I learned from other people. Now the blessing, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to deal with the situation my way. So my way is like, I don't want to get into the conflict anymore. I want to think of this in a higher, I'm going to rise above this.
I just thought of this funny quote. I hope you find it as funny as I do. In Punjabi, there's this quote where they say "Kutte di pooch kade siddhi nahi hui," which is a terrible thing to say, because I don't know whether it's true or not. But what we're talking about is change, and we're talking about authenticity, and looking at a situation that jira hon jida kai wari hunda log kende bhi main jithe jandi ha, wherever I go there's always a problem. Itthe kam te bhi problem, just like you've just mentioned. But maybe there's something that we may be doing that's creating that drama, and kade kade sanu hana we have to step outside of our own person, rather than being in the middle of the drama. We need to come out of it and look at what's actually happening, and then think, well, how am I contributing? Koi hunde ਭਾਂਬੜ ਵਜਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਲੋਕ to ignite the fire, ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਲੋਕ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਬੁਝਾਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਜਾਂ ਰੇਤਾ ਉੱਤੇ ਸੱਟ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ, so they calm the situation down. And what is your gift? Which person are you? There's 2 or 3. You could be the person that ignites the fire because you love the drama. You could be the person that puts the fire out, or you could be the person that just stands and watches and doesn't want anything to do with that, because you're at peace with whatever happens, because you're in the way your thought process is it's not my circus, not my monkeys, something like that. So everything is a choice. The je thode kol gift hega ya, how are you using your gift? We're not talking about getting shabash here, because that's not what gifts, because gift is something that where you don't expect something back, and that's what the whole point of a gift is, isn't it? And this is, again, we're talking about a spiritual gift. So jithe thanu lagda bhi thanu bolna chahida, where you can be courageous, be bold, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਰਿਓ ਨਾ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਅਸਲੀਅਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਠਹਿਰ ਕੇ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਹਾਂ, something like that, do it. But ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ there's no point, ਆ ਪਾਗਲ ਬੰਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਬੁਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨੇ ਤਾਂ they're going to bring me down, so I'm not going to say anything. But you can make that judgment, and that's how you start to evolve, and you change who you are rather than being the person that you've always been.
And because Gudal, myself, we're coaches, and we do a lot of this work with our clients and everyone, that people feel stuck and they feel like no matter what they do, nothing's changing. They're always saying, they're having the problems at work, or people always treat them in a very disrespectful way. No matter what I do, they just fairy, they just use me and take advantage of my kindness. So some people have the same story and the same story running. Doesn't matter kar hoye, kamte hoye, kitte bhi hoye. But then they don't realize that where's it all stemming from. So as coaches, we help them thinking it's in here, it's inside us, sade andar hai. So what we assume and believe about ourselves, what we believe about the world, that's why it keeps happening. So, and because we've done it ourselves, because we're not here just coaching other people, we do our own work within ourselves, and we become aware of this spiritual gift, that it's a blessing. The blessing is when we allow to go inwards and do that inner change and change our thinking and our programs and our assumptions, as you apni story change karna janda na, then this blessing is really, it radiates out, and it will create healing in other people around us. We don't have to go and change them. We don't need to go and deliberately. The gift is that we don't have to force anything on them. We don't have to change them. Dunya nu ਤੁਸੀਂ change ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ. But the blessing is that we go in and change our story, ਜਿਹੜੀ story ਅਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, people like this, dunya like this, all the negative stories. And when we change that story into a positive story, that's where the spiritual blessing gift is really working to its maximum and just spreading out into the world.
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਲੋਕ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਫਲਾਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ, ਉਹ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਆ, ਉਹ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਦੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮੋਹਰੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਉਹੀ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ. ਪਰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਦਤ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਆ. ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਰੁੱਖਾਪਨ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਬਸ ਉਹ ਹੈਗੇ, ਪਰ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚੀਏ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਆ, ਟਾਈਮ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ, ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ, ਥਿੰਗਸ ਲਾਈਕ ਦੈਟ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੰਦਰਲੀ ਸੋਚ ਆ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਉਹੀ ਸਹੀ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ 'ਚ ਸੋਚੋ, ਨਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਲਤ ਸੋਚੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ। ਸੋ ਇਟਸ ਜਸਟ ਅ ਚੇਂਜ ਆਫ your own self concept.
Yeah, and we studied Akaya because it's obviously from it's our body, it's our sharir, and we're so attached to our sharir, so we think that I'm separate from you, everybody else is separate from me, because we see ourselves like separate beings, because we got this thing about time, concept of time and distance, hai na? So we think everybody's away from us, but if you look through the eyes of the Akha, there's no separation. There's no separation. So whatever we're thinking about, any person, they're inside us. There's no things like no one's out there, or everybody's inside us. So that's why I say whatever story we're telling about anyone, they can hear us. They can energetically, on a soul level, they can hear everything that we feel about them, they think about them, they can pick up on it, and then they will show they behave karenge sade na. Then we say, I told you, I told you that's what they do, and this is what I expected of them. It's because they can hear you, and this is why. And this stuff is very powerful.
Yeah, it's quite deep.
It's very deep and very powerful.
काफी डूंघाई च ਅਸੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ.
I know, but what we can tell you, this is true, really true, because I've started, when I realized the power of this, and I started changing my stories about certain people in my life where I thought was challenging, and I started, every time they came into my mind, I used to start thinking, no, very, very caring, considerate person. Before there was the opposite, chalak, cunning, whatever. But once I started changing my story, eventually they conform and they behave just as I've started to think and believe about them and assumed about them. So this happens with everyone, and apne bachchiyan na we, so like a lot of people say mere bachche meri gal nahi sunte hain, they don't do their homework, they have room needs, so they always keep it dirty, ma kuch kendi nahi hai. Honestly, they give me a headache. And then because I worked with one of my clients like this, and I said to her, just change your story, just say bahut mera bachcha akhe lagda, mere kade lod hi nahi pende gusse hon to bas bahut main ta हैरान hundi te jo bhi much kende main gal kehn to pehla hi he does it, hai na. She did it. She did it for a while. It took about a few months, because ikdam nahi hunda, but every time a thought of a child came in her mind, she would say, no, bahut hi pareman hai, he listens to me, he respects me. And that became like a mantra, a nickname, and he changed.
So ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਾ ਕਲਾਇੰਟਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਲਾਇੰਟਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਵੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਨਸੈਪਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਰਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਬਾਰੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰੀਦੀ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਬਾਹਰ ਆ ਉਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਆ, ਕਰਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਆ ਵੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਦਿਲ ਕੁਛ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਕੁਛ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਪਰ ਜੋ ਕੁਛ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਿਲ 'ਚ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਆ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁੱਸੇ 'ਚ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਿਆਰ 'ਚ ਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਕਰ 'ਚ ਆ, ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮੂੰਹ 'ਤੇ ਦਿਸਦਾ ਆ। ਬਟ ਸਮਟਾਈਮਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੁਕੋ ਲਿਆ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁਛ ਪਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਪਰਦਾ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਆ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਣਾ, ਬੜੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ, ਬਟ ਪੀਪਲ ਕੈਨ ਸੀ ਦੈਟ ਦੇਰ ਇਜ਼ ਸਮ ਕਨਫਲਿਕਟ, ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਦਿਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਬੇਚੈਨੀ ਆ। ਬਟ ਸੋ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਵਾਈ ਵੀ ਸੇਇੰਗ ਦੈਟ whatever you've got going on inside you, that is what reflects towards you when you go and meet people. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਉਹੀ ਸ਼ਕਲ ਦਿਖਾ ਲੈਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ।
And I know this lady, her husband, she had a problem with her husband, and all she thought was negative things about him.
Isn't that most women though?
That's your story, Hannah. But that's your story. But she had because of aadat pegi sigi, because what she grew up and what she learned from her environment. So she always see the negative in her husband all the time, and he sounded like the most violent person, how she described him. But obviously they separated. She didn't work on it. But when he got married to someone,
she didn't work on it.
She knows this is
they didn't work on it.
Yeah. But interesting part is like when he got settled in another marriage, because the woman he got married to, because she had a different story, different concept, she had a completely different experience with him. You see, because her upbringing was different, and his first wife, her upbringing was different. The man is the same man, same husband, but because of the story, what they kept telling about them, that's how she saw her husband.
Experienced him.
She saw him as a volatile, angry, hostile husband, but the other lady saw him as a most caring nature. And she's thinking, but is that the same man? And she just wouldn't believe it. In her world, he was the most horrible person. But the other lady, because it's her upbringing, their stories. So this is something, I mean, once you get into this stuff, you see clear evidence of it, how people's thinking is what they experience in those people there.
Yeah, your relationships, your friendships, everything that you're thinking within your own mind, your higher conscience, or whichever way you want to call it, yourself, your God self, that is what you will see outside of yourself. But this is quite a deep concept. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, and we do, and ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਪ ਸਿੱਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, and we kind of try it out and see how it works and things like that, and we do feel that this is definitely what is happening out there, because ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਵੀ ਰੱਬ ਦਾ ਰੂਪ ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਹੈ. There's only one consciousness, so everything that's happening around us is also happening within us. And
it's really good, because now if I'm thinking of somebody and I'm starting thinking negative story about them, they're listening, so you know it's happening, Hannah. And it's happened because there's every person you know that I've spoken to you about, and that's exactly how you experience it, isn't it? Because that's the story I've been telling you. But I love this, and we will share more about this concept about inner stories, and we'd love to tell you how we can help you with this in our future episodes. And I hope you enjoyed. Umeed hai thanu aaj da show thanu pasand aaya, and we'll share next week. We'll share 2 more spiritual gifts, and please watch the one before, and then keep watching them, because the more you watch them, you'll have more awareness of how powerful we all are.
Thank you. Okay. Sat Sri Akal.